is the reason that this place is the way it is. And that's not a light thing to say. I mean it. They've altered the landscape here. They've altered our ears, what we see. So, without further ado, I want you to know that Lorna Dee Cervantes was born here in San Francisco, raised in San Jose in Barrio Horseshoe, and she was a self-taught activist by 15. She taught herself how to run her own printing press and was founding editor and publisher of Mango Publications. For y'all who don't know, that magazine was responsible for so many poets getting their first start. Okay? That was at 20, y'all. At 20, Lorna did this. At 24, she wrote the foundational book Emplumada, which is the one, right? Lorna is a Chicanx Indiex poet of Chumash Purepecha blood. She's a PhD in history of consciousness. She was a professor of English for 20 years at the University of Boulder, Colorado, serving as director of creative writing. She's awarded 2 NEA fellowships, 2 Pushcart prizes, a Lily Wallace Reader's Digest Award, a state arts grant, a Best Book Awards for 6 books of poetry, including Emplumada and April on Olympia, her last book, which we have here. Cervantes now lives and writes in Seattle. Familia, give it up for the one and only Lorna Dee Cervantes.
Gracias. Thank you all for being here. There's so much to say, Norman. I had no idea. You know how much I love you and your work. And someday that book will come out. Anybody wants to support me and see the book that helped Norman out? It's called Love Poems to Strangers. LornaDeeCervantes.com. Go there. For $20, you can order a love poem. Makes a perfect gift. You can give me some words, some images, some ideas, a form, whatever, or just say, write me a poem about, whomever, your love. I've written poems about dogs, dead grandmothers, one all in Spanish for a 50-year anniversary. Write me a poem for your love. This was the idea to help out Norman. Love Poems for Strangers. I was busking at readings like this in order to give him some money because his apartment burned down. So, but it's a book, Love Poems to Strangers. I want to start off with a poem for somebody, a poeta, who's very much here. His spirit is here, his work is here, and his books are likely here. So buy them, buy books, please. This is called Not a Poem for Francisco X Alacon, who wanted a love poem before he died. How can I write you a poem? Every word flattens into sand dollars, crumples with the decay of memory. How can I write you a poem? Words are old pesos worth less than their silver. Your silver, how handsome you have become. Brother, water, moon to my sun on earth, mi familia, twin driven by Muse herself, twin to that too. My confidant, who knew then how handsome you would become. Your brilliance shows on your face at last. How can I write you a poem? I want your certain flame to stay. I want your good evening again. I want your fire. How can I stop this burning multiplicity? I will you to the river of light with these words, impudent masses, total recall. I want you here. Heal. You're not ready for sainthood yet, Garnal. As much as I know how much that would please you. I pray with your poems. I image in the blazing ball of Yo, alone in his single cell of execution, the cross one has to bear, and love. Love clusters to your core, the ore of ages in your blessed Hagwar's eyes, same blesser of my family's final journey, same ailment. I cannot let you pass. I cannot believe. Be live wire in your stalled Jeep, some lonely road, your single word on the radio, or whatever comes to pass. We, youngest kids on the poetry block, now old fogies, elders. Let the decades come in triplets, my old friend. Once it was, you were the only one who even knew where I lived, or if this too shall come to pass. Our spirits braided, our feathered path bound in poetry's laser wire, our spirit to all deliverance, the largest life of all is yet to live. You have yet to live, to write the poem that saves us all. Never underestimate the power of the dead. That's one of my 4 credos in my religion. Now he helps me write poetry with that smile on his face. This is one of them. The river doesn't want the wall. The river doesn't want the wall. It wants to ring free where it wants. The river doesn't want the wall. It wants to roam through the home of the brave. It wants to run free with salmon, with stone, with ceremonies older than borders. It wants to cross with the swell and drain. Rain doesn't want a wall to contain it, to constrain the span of progress. River wants to merge its way to confluence. River wants to mingle and feed. River wants the rocks to sing freedom's song. River wants wind to speak its peace. The river doesn't want the wall. The land won't let it. The floods won't cede. The people will sing. The river wants to let freedom ring. The river wants to let my people go. And this is for another friend who is passed in Seattle. She grew up in Skagit Valley, where the tulip fields are, and most of the seed production is produced there, especially organic vegetable seeds in Washington in the Skagit Valley. And she was a poet. Angelica Guillen. So this is a poem called It's Not the Tulip's Fault. Per Cesar Chavez and Angelica Guillen in memoriam. I have to say, I was doing a reading for the Skagit Poetry Festival, and they had put all of these tulips on the stage. It was during the Tulip Festival that Skagit is famous for, La Conner, where she grew up. And, she hated that they had all those tulips there, because the tulips workers, and everything. And so she was going on and on and on about the tulips, and they gave me a dozen tulips. And I was staying at her house, and she threw them on the table, and she was like, oh, it's a peachy tulips, So this is what this referred to in this poem. It's not the tulip's fault. Per Cesar Chavez and Angelica Guillen. Oh yeah, we'd laugh and laugh and laugh about this, but this is not a funny poem. It's not the tulip's fault. It's not the tulip's fault if a boy dies in the waiting room, penniless. It's not the fallen petal's fault if a girl caught in the migra's grasp gets deflowered in the mud. Don't blame these flagrant perfumed mouths. Their dunged words would house horrors. If they could speak, they would wonder at the work of man, the toil of this endless labor of making fortunes only to lose lives to the withering cell's demise. Don't blame the tulips for their poisons, for the bees dying at the pollen's promise. Don't make them suffer the picker's thirst. They bear backs to the riven sun, striped and stripped of sustenance, their dried out tongues caught up in the moment of rich desire. Once they were wealthy with color, with the vibrant fluid of justice pooling in the uneven fields. Once they were worth more than a man, a single hardened heart, worth more than 10 women's bodies. Once their fists of bulbs moved earth, weighted heaven. Once they were more valuable than the dirt they languor in. Once they were winter's bitch, holed up in their dank holes, waiting. Once $100,000 bills fluttered over the promise of these purple hearts. These fiery red heads and yellow ribbons of silken hope. Once an entire country lay at their immigrant wake, their green fingers poking at heaven like the devil's cock. Once an entire nation lay captive at their feet, lay captive at the feet of the harvest. Once an entire nation was held captive, and the earth beneath their feet stolen and pockmarked with the quest for gold. Now these stark blood tulips lie, a remainder, the inflation of their fleshy bowls, starving the people who harvest, who hunger at the work of tulips. 5 for a buck, 5 campesinos' lives per fistful. Don't blame the tulips. It's not their fault. Caught in the frozen clay of history, they will obey. They are. These hardy gangs last a week, if that, while brown backs toil, while a child's armload weakens, and death is forever. It's not the tulips' fault. Give them a drink. Tell them what the sins of the fathers have sown. Vow now, under the sun, to end the suffering, to equalize, equal and organize, 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 organize! I was reading from April on Olympia. Brilliantly, they got the books in time. I wasn't expecting it. So please, 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 everybody buy a book, not just mine. Buy a book, but it's the holidays. Please, please, please support the bookstore, support books. And now I want to read a brand new poem that's in a gallery, Columbus Gallery in Seattle. It's an ekphrastic poem, art about art. And I want to acknowledge my stepmother, Susan Cervantes here. For Christina I's Muralist Arts Center, Muralist Supply Center, Visitor Center, where I had my writing studio, right above the left eye of Frida, and lived here on 21st Street for several years. They instilled upon me the importance and the centering of community arts and how community arts can create and lift and grow the community. It's a spiritual practice like poetry, as I said in my other poem, a spirit to all practice, spirit to all. And that is art, and one thing I love about this place and have always loved about it was the fact that it was also a gallery. I lost my poem. I'm doing one of those things, but I'm old, so I have an excuse.
What are you doing? It's okay.
This is a beautiful, here it is. Here's the thing, the poem I'm reading is this butterfly. Here, if you pass that around. The exhibit is until January. You can look it up online if you like. This is from a painting by Jake Prendes, And I Still Rise is the name of the painting and the name of my poem. And it begins with a quote from Homero Argis. Am I pronouncing that right? Who, besides an incredible Mexican poet, is a world expert on the monarch butterfly. And this is some lines, excuse me, it's in Spanish, so. A una mariposa monarca, tú vas. A una mariposa monarca, tú que vas por el día, como un tigre alado, quemándote en tu vuelo. And I still rise. Mariposa, 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 mar y pos. A sea they crossed, an ocean away to get to us. Mariposa, monarch, meaning queen, reina. I watch them try to flush your flash of red wing, piel, the color of sunset, a strike against the sky, you, butterfly, unfurling your wings of truth against the lies that we are thieves, whores, rapists, and murderers. We of the land between two great waters, between these plexiglass, epoxy, concrete cages, before we were plucked and silenced, frozen in an artificial land bridge from ourselves, our history, a matter of fallen feathers, claw prints, our footprints in 15,000-year-old clay, bones and the fossilized stone, our indigenous American values of humility, compassion, temperance, and perseverance, seeing us through 7 generations of our grandmothers. Si se puede. Though they tell us to go back to where we came from, we are the butterflies of the new world, and we still rise. We return to where we're from, and I still rise through the lies, though they brand me animal and dirt. I still rise. Before borders, the pathways were clear. We are not this migration. We are the land. Abyayala, niña, mariposa, sol y mar y pos, ni modo. You are the heart of the people who were always here, the rest of us coming home. Mariposa, mar y pos, cruzando on a dream, dreamer, in a new dawn of dreamers. Yet we arise, and I still rise, because they cannot douse us with their chubascos of hate, of so much nada. with words emptied of history, the sheen and gleam, not giving out in the rise and shine of knowing where we are is where we've always been. Como mariposa, mariposa, mar y pos, us, resilient and resisting by insisting. Gracias.
One more time for Lorna Dee Cervantes.